the desk working. Now, if we then think about our own business, and
do
we
you
think
want,
about
do you want ice cream?
double whip cornetto.
Yeah, I'll have a calipo, please.
Yeah.
Now, today's special guest is not, despite, I know you were stopped on the way up the stairs, we had autograph hunters, people were asking where Holly was.
It does happen.
But it's not Philip Schofield, audience, it is not Philip Schofield.
I'm sorry.
It's Jonathan Winchester! Now, Jonathan, you have been, it's your first time on the sofa.
Yeah, I'm very honoured. Thank you.
But you have been on an EC stage before.
I have.
And your Jonathan's appearance on an EC stage goes back almost 5 years to the International Convention Centre. It was a big stage.
It was a massive stage.
And you shared it with Steve Wozniak.
I was,
from Apple.
Yeah.
And the Entrepreneurs Convention that we ran. And we had Woz on in the morning. He was your warm-up act.
He was great. He warmed it up. He had quite a story, didn't he?
Yes, and he had a much bigger fee than you.
I better bill you more.
But in the afternoon, you gave a very memorable talk, and that was the first time. In the run-up to that event, was the first time that we'd actually kind of met.
We sort of spoke about 2 minutes before, didn't we?
Just a little bit longer than that. But just thought, because you have quite an unusual business. Because you do live and breathe kind of customer experience. Tell us about the business and
where it started, or
tell us what it does now.
What it does now. So Insight 6 now, which was formerly, when I was talking at Birmingham, was called Shopper Anonymous.
Yes.
We rebranded last year. Works with about 1,000 businesses across the UK, helping them improve their customer experience.
Okay.
So that's it in a nutshell.
So you specialise in helping business to improve their customer experience.
Yes.
So what is like customer? Because is that like customer service?
Well, it's slightly different, because I think in the old days, and I say the old days 3 years ago,
right?
Because times of
2016.
Well, customer
I remember it well.
But it's true, because like 3 years ago, business leaders thought customer experience, 20% of their profit was about customer experience. Nowadays, 60% of them think customer experience is the number one thing they've got to focus on in order to make the profits.
Okay.
So there's a massive movement around customer experience. And when we think about customer service in our minds, we generally think about an individual sitting behind a desk or on a phone. Customer experience is about the whole thing before you even start to engage with a firm. How you find, what were first engagements like, what were services like, what were follow-ups like, all the way through to what was that impression. So it's the whole breadth of a relationship, rather than just customer service being maybe just one small element of it.
So it starts like even with the marketing and stuff. And what people see.
Yeah, absolutely right, yeah. How we find you.
Okay, so the businesses you work with, are they like really big businesses?
Yeah, so we work with very, very large multinationals, and we work with very small independents. We have 200 law firms we work with. Now, law, very interesting sector, you wouldn't imagine.
Is it?
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, it can be.
Who knew?
It can be. So, law firms, universities, public schools, through to cafes and retail and family-run businesses. Yeah.
Well, so let's take them, because as you know, within Entrepreneur Circle, our average member runs a business. They employ between 5 and 10 staff.
Yep.
They're turning over somewhere between 300 and 700,000 pound a year. So, and because they are passionate, they care deeply about their business. The business is inextricably linked with them. It is a manifestation often of them as the business owner. So, and in today's, we want to focus on finding some tangible ways that our EC members that are watching this today can perhaps improve their customer experience, and in some way enhance their reputation. Potentially, I guess the outputs of good customer experience is more referrals, it's more repeat business, word of mouth gets better, that sort of thing. So let's explore what people can actually do in practical terms. Then,
so if you get the experience right, your marketing becomes relatively cheap, because you're obviously going to get a bigger referral market. You haven't got such a big churn rate. You're not spending loads of money trying to get customers in and then letting them down. So clearly your referral market is going to really, really help you. So it really starts with the leader. So the old adage, the fish smells from the head down, is absolutely crucial. Now, you just said that your clients generally are very passionate people, and that is fantastic. how you get that passion through your team is one of the biggest challenges in that journey about improving your customer experience. And that starts with how you recruit in your people.
Okay.
So if you recruit on attitude rather than skill, you're in a good place to start that journey, I would suggest to start with.
Okay.
So that is around. So I'll give you a really good example of that. There is a fantastic business up in York, Maximise, a guy called Tom Percy, and he wants to get the right attitude people in his maze every summer.
Oh, it's a maze.
It's a maze.
Oh, I see.
They get lost. Yeah.
Maze.
Yeah,
I get it.
maze,
okay.
maze.
Yeah, okay.
And what he does, he interviews and he says, right, we've got an open day for all staff, and they're all standing, hundreds of people standing outside the gate.
Yeah.
Okay. And he said, and at 9 o'clock he opens the gate. And what he does, that was people coming in for the interview.
If he didn't like them, he just says, turn that way.
No, that's right. You go that way, you go that way.
Sorry, yeah.
No, but what he does, he litters the path with rubbish. He hides his full-timers in the bushes. They've got 2 bins. As they walk in to go to the interview centre, they watch who picks up the litter and puts it in the bin.
Ah,
right?
Okay.
Now, and then he marks them, so the people in the bushes go, yeah, got that one, got that one. And generally speaking, the people that pick up the litter and put it in the bin are generally the people who have a very good chance of getting a job. Now, I've just wrecked his whole recruitment process by mentioning that, because everybody, but that is what it's about. It's all about attitude, isn't it? It's all about thinking laterally, thinking for your customer, thinking about what their needs and wants, not just the bit in the business I do, but what's that whole lateral piece that's going to make the biggest difference.
Okay, very interesting. Now, of course, but when you're not recruiting, when you've already got a team, what can you do to move them to where you want them to be?
Oh, wow! So this is where the hard bit comes.
This is the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer problem.
This is
the transfer window's not open. You've got to work with what you've got.
Okay, so can I be brutally blunt then? Let's be brutally blunt about it. In every team, you've got fountains and you've probably got some drains. All right. Okay. If you are going to change to a customer experience culture, I
wondered what he was going to say. I was getting like,
if you're going to really change to a new culture, you are going to get some people are going to love it.
Yes.
And you're going to get some people that want to be a hurdler and they're going to prevent it and stop it.
Yes.
So you probably need to have some very honest conversations in your team around, are you up for this challenge?
Okay.
Right? Now, the most important thing to remember is that the world has moved on. Amazon is voted the best customer experience business on the planet.
Yeah.
Now, when I used to present, so at your conference, for example, if I said to thousands of people in the audience, which brand do you recognise as great experience? 80% of them would say John Lewis or Waitrose back then. If you measure it today, and this has been done, Amazon is number 1 and has twice the votes of John Lewis.
Yeah.
So what you've got to do,
and like twice the customers as well.
Absolutely, and twice the customers, and fairly profitable. And so what you've actually got to do is instill in your people, who generally have probably been through the Amazon experience, how can you transfer that into our business so it's quick, seamless, clarity. If there's a problem with it, you can resolve it really quickly. How do you make it seamless? And that's where you've got to get to. You've got to try and make your whole business process totally seamless, and then you've got to wrap it up with love. So you've got to say, seamless, got to wrap it up with love. So people go, cool, that was great. And Amazon is a bit like that, isn't it? I mean, our computer broke down.
Well, it's cardboard. They wrap it in cardboard.
Well, they can do. They can do. But
no, literally, they wrap it in cardboard.
They do. And bubble wrap.
Come with me.
I was thinking love. You're thinking cardboard. Nigel, aside,
Okay, we highlighted an issue here.
But you order. I mean, I remember last year, PC breaks down. I mean, 17 hours it's working. New one under the desk working. Now, if we then think about our own business, and do you
want ice cream?
Double whip cornetto.
Yeah, I'll have a calipo, please.
Yeah. See if we're any good at upselling while we're at it. Yeah. He is actually going to go.
Imagine the experience. That's good. He's wrapping it up with love.
That's what it is. That's what he's going to do. Where were we, Nigel?
Where were we? Help me out. Amazon.
Speed, seamless.
Yes.
So, if you look at your own business and you think about the core processes, you've got to think about how do you make that as easy as possible. Now, one of the easiest things for everybody to do is just to go and walk the client journey. So if you've got an office and you want to start getting your team thinking about the client journey, you've got 10 people, split them in 2 teams of 5, send 5 of them down the road that way, 5 of them down the road that way, give them a bit of paper with a line down it and go, I want you to look at the approach, write down on the left-hand side what was good, on the right-hand side what needs improving, go and sit in your own reception. Does your bottom hit the floor? What does it smell like? Close your eyes, listen to what's going on. And then go and have a look in the meeting rooms, go and look in the toilets. Just walk the whole journey. And toilets is important because, let me tell you why. Because most people look in a toilet, right, this is not a stand-up, but sit down. Okay. They open the toilet and they look in, they go, that's fine. But what they don't actually do is go in, close the door and sit down on the toilet. Because where are you going to hang your coat? What's the message? Is there a message promoting the business? All those sorts of things. So by getting your team to do that, what they then do, they come back with a massive action list. Most of it is the stuff that's wrong. So even although we think we might be great, they will come back with an action. And then you can empower them to go, well, how are we going to put this right?
Or if it's not wrong, it's things that could be made better.
Absolutely improved. Yeah, exactly right. So then you're at a position where you can say to your team, okay, we've got all these actions to do just on the customer journey. This is before we look at the phone and the website and the after service and all of that. Let's just get that bit right. And by empowering them in that process, you're starting to get their mind shift. You're starting to get them to think, okay, we can start making these changes.
Okay. Well, he actually...
He's done it. There we go. Very good.
Cheers, Matt. Thank you very much.
Customer experience.
That's great. And you haven't asked me for some money. That's even better. That's brilliant. Yeah. Right.
Shall I get back to Nigel?
This will be hardly embarrassing.
It is.
Yeah, it's going to melt.
At some point, you'll need rescuing there, aren't you? Anyway, you'd be pleased that to enhance my guest experience, we now have air conditioning in the studio, because if you'd been here a month ago, it would already be around your wrist.
Exactly.
That's where it
Well
works.
done, well done. This is going to have to go somewhere.
Yeah, it's good.
In my mouth?
It'll be...
I like the way you got the ice and I got the... Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I'll show you the back in a minute.
Philip Schofield wouldn't do this.
So I think he would, actually.
Do you think he would?
No, he would, and then he'd sell me a car. That's what would actually happen. Yeah, I think these are going to have to go.
You have to take it. It's going to go everywhere. That's ever so kind, though.
Not a problem at all.
Come back there, eh?
Yep.
No, good.
Right, okay.
That's very good.
Okay then.
Yeah, it's good.
It feels like we're on proper TV, doesn't it? Right. So then,
Yeah.
so that's a good way to start with the how. You mentioned other things there, because at the part of the whole experience. So things like websites and telephone. How do you start to identify things there? Because if you ring up your own business, they kind of know it's you.
Okay, so there's a number of ways you can do that. So first of all, I would always suggest, first of all, that everybody rings their own business up in the evening. Right, that's the starting point. So say to your team, at 8 o'clock tonight, I want you to ring our number and I want you to tell us what happens. Because what does happen to a call at 8 o'clock at night? We assume it goes to an answer phone. Yeah. We assume the message is enthusiastic. We assume, but does it? And should it be answered by, should we outsource that and have someone else answering it? Because is business 9 to 5 anymore? Clearly not. So we need to think about all of our customer group. Reviewing, again, I would ask the team to look at the website and review and think about how it is. But more importantly, there's a thing called customer journey mapping. Customer journey mapping is probably one of the most increased activities in customer experience over the last year, 2 years, and anything else. So this is where you sit your team down and you break down the process. So if we're looking at a website, we're going to go to Google, we're going to put in certain words, we're going to look at where it ranks, we're going to go to the home page, we're going to find the phone number to try and ring you, and then you take all of those bits and then you imply net promoter score, net promoter score,
yes.
0 out of 10, how that all works, right. And then for each of those stages, you say, for the client, how would you score that 0 out of 10? And what you generally get, you go, actually, fine, it was great, I'll give that a 9. But when I got on the home page, I thought that's a bit clunky, and it didn't really give the image I want. I want to give that a 3. Trying to find the contact details, had to go through 4 different levels to find the phone number. I'm going to give that a 2. And what you end up with is a very clear definition of what is good and what needs improving.
Okay.
And then you get the team to start.
And what's important is that, again, as you're going through this, you keep referencing it's getting the team to do it.
It's very important the team involved.
Right. And just to explain why again. Why is it so important?
Well, okay. So in the old days. I say the old days, 3 years ago. The old days, when I was 32 and you were similar age,
oh, Phil.
What we would have done, we would have got a consultant in, show us, and then the consultant would come up with a paper, and a consultant would say, "This is what you've got to do."
Yeah.
The team would go, "Yeah, right, that would last today and it'd be gone tomorrow," and generally it would, because what you haven't changed the behaviour in the business, and customer experience is all about behaviour. That's all it is. It's about the.
I'm getting you another one.
No. I'll have an ice lolly next time, but not now. No, next year. And Oh, God, where was I again?
This is the consultant that used to come in.
Yeah. So you get a consultant in, and what you haven't done, you haven't embedded your team in any of what's in that feedback.
Yeah, it's been done to them.
It's been done to them rather than with them.
Yeah.
What customer experience sessions do, so you have a facilitator. External facilitator is best, obviously, because they're impartial, and you go through this process, come up with the actions. Tremendous fun. Makes people really realise, really think hard about every aspect of that journey, and they own the actions. So they own what needs to be done. Links into appraisal. So it starts to change get the right behaviours in the business to deliver the right experience.
Okay. Yeah. So it's very broad, this, isn't it, and quite deep. And so and it does actually. I can see now when it's done properly how it does run through the very fabric of the whole organisation, isn't it? So what sort of challenges do you come across then? Because I guess you'll have some very enthusiastic kind of leadership teams who are very keen to embark on this journey and stuff. What?
So some of the challenges we would have would be, so in large organisations, we might get a senior manager and ring us, and their challenge is about influence from leadership team upwards to go on the customer experience journey.
Okay.
All right. So they might be very product driven, very technically driven, historically driven. And all right, how do I influence that? So what we do there, we would go and we do a little bit of work to find out what the pain is. So we say, right, what's the pain in your business? And they might say converting leads. Okay, what's your conversion rate now? Well, we convert 30% of them. Okay, let's just take a small team and let's do a bit of mapping with them. Do a bit of measurement, but mystery shopping. Let's see what that's going like. And then what we would do, we would then implement the change and then we would remeasure. Because at the end of the day, the things that influence the board is data.
Yes, of course.
It's all about data. If we can move conversion rate from 30% to 50% in, say, a 3-month period, then clearly there's a very good case to start widening that up. So when it's an organisation such as that, it is that. When it's a smaller organisation, and the leader gets it, as I said before, the challenge is how you take your team with you in order to do that. And also, about recruiting the right people as well. I think that can be quite a challenge. You made
that clear at the beginning. And again, we can all, as business owners, we can all relate to that, the importance of having the right people in the right roles in our organisations. So the sort of measurements that you do then, can you really transform conversion from 30% to 50%?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let me give you a good scenario. So when let's talk about public school. So public school is a good sector. Highly educated leaders.
Yes. Academics.
Historically, probably always businesses run in, either through family generations, whatever. Currently, politically, grammar schools are on the up. So a lot of people are swapping out into grammar school. So it's a pressure sector.
Yeah.
Difficult to get 100% capacity. How do they change their customer experience in order to make that difference? And what they're very, very good at is taking people around the school and telling them everything they want to tell the client about.
Yes.
What they're generally very poor at is actually listening to the client as to what they want to see. So some of the mystery shopping we've done, which has been fascinating, is that some of our scenarios has been little Tommy, he's 4 years old, so he could be there to the age of 18.
Yes.
14 years times 40 grand.
Yeah.
Little Tommy's got a big pot of gold on his head, right? Yeah. So, do they ask little Tommy?
So he can't walk straight.
So, do they say to little Tommy of a parent, what's Tommy like? Now, so when we place a scenario into a public school, we would say Tommy likes music. Generally, what happens is that they show us the rugby fields, and they show us the chemistry lab. You know what's coming. They show us a nice new £1 million swimming pool that was fundraised by all the old Herodians or whatever it is. All of that stuff. What do they fail to do? They fail to show them a music school. All Tommy's interested in is music. Now, I don't know you, Nigel, but if someone was going to give me £500,000, I'd have the orchestra on, I'd have an empty seat at the front, I'd have the oboe on it, and I'd go, Tommy, go and have your 5 minutes, wouldn't you? You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
They don't think like that. They don't think like that. And it starts, again, if you think, thinking about schools, going to a school and finding somewhere to park is a challenge, because often they're in a town centre.
Yes.
Often they don't have any selective parking, and when you walk in through a door and it's like you're standing in a corridor, you might have driven 4 hours, you're standing in a corridor and the experience is not good. So there is a massive opportunity to sign up more people. Once the experience has been done, the key bit then is the follow-up.
Okay.
So the headmasters invested 2 hours of their time right? There's a price on that, right?
Yeah.
Receptionist done, all that done, done. The client, a potential client has left. What happens? Well, in 82% of cases, nothing. Okay. In 18% of cases, there's a bit of follow-up. Guess which school signs up the kids? Yeah. It's a school that does the follow-up. And we as a nation are pretty rubbish at follow-up, I've got to say. Now, if you take law, if you do a walking experience to a law firm, and you're going in saying, I want to get a divorce, or I want to buy a house, or whatever it is, only 8% of firms do a follow-up on your walking experience, having spent an average of about 40 minutes with what they call a fee earner, or a lawyer. It's astonishing. And 50% of those cases, they never take the details in the first place. Yeah, so they can't follow up because they don't know who you are. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary.
I know my son is looking to buy a house, and he quite likes it about buying a new house. And on the bank holiday weekend just gone, he went out with his girlfriend, and they went to 4 new home developments. So they're a young couple, and they turn up, and they walked into the show home. And having a little walk around, we had a little walk around these houses, and they came back down and walked back through the show home, and he said not one single place has taken any information. They have no idea who I am, what I'm looking for, what I'm doing, and which is at one level quite extraordinary. And interestingly, because the price tags are not that far removed from public schools, are they?
No, exactly right. Exactly right.
The margins won't be quite as good, but it is interesting, and it reminds me actually of my. I've told this story before, but when I was 9. When my football career peaked.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. But full of youthful enthusiasm, I was invited to join Saturday soccer.
Cool.
It was a big thing. And the teacher that ran Saturday soccer was Mr. Bulmer. And I was really excited because all I wanted to do obviously was get the ball and dribble past everybody and score amazing goals. And Mr. Bulmer got us, I remember the very first Saturday soccer, this is a long time ago, and he got us in a circle, it was like 10 boys. And we're about 10 yards apart. And all he got us to do for like half an hour was pass the ball to each other. Which was like, at the time, I felt like the most dull thing. But he sat us down and he explained that in football, simple things done well look good. And he went on to explain how simple things done well win matches. And it strikes me that's a perfect analogy for everything you're talking about, because none of this stuff's actually
it's not rocket science.
Difficult. It's simple things that done well actually does make a big difference, doesn't it? So because Mr. Bulmer perhaps should have had a change in career. There was perhaps a bit more depth to what he was saying than I realised.
He could have been a leader, isn't he? Big one. No, but and I think the key is that processes get passed through the generations. So especially in a more traditional marketplace like schools, they get passed from one person to the person.
Of course.
And actually, it takes someone to go enough. Let's go outside our sector. Let's see what sectors are doing it really well, and let's bring that back into our sector. So when BA wanted to put in the lie in bed in the first class lounge, which you know all about, the first class bed, their technicians said we can't possibly do that for health and safety. So the CEO said, well, I want to lie down bed in first class. So he went and looked at the boat market. And in boats, they had already done it. And then they brought that. So sometimes you've got to go outside. Your measurement isn't
quite a lot of the time. I think in business we recognise that, and certainly within Entrepreneur Circle, the our members will recognise that often the best ideas come from outside. Your sector
definitely right.
And your industry. How did you learn all this stuff? How did you get into this?
Childhood.
Well, I mean, we're funny.
So when I was 14, my parents both gave up their jobs with the civil service. They bought an old battered hotel and turned it into a care home. So I grew up, the lunchtime conversation was all about care. It was all about residents and staff. Our first, I was going to say patient, but it isn't, is it? Our first customer, resident, £55 a week. Down in Bexhill-on-Sea in East Sussex,
lovely.
And I learned listening to parental conversations, and that's how I learned. And then at the age of 18, I went to Harrods. So I couldn't get into university.
Or just to shop, or to work?
No, I went to work. I wasn't stealing. I wasn't there doing my evening craft. I was lucky enough to get on their management development program. And it was there where I really learned. And the amazing thing about Harrods, and you think about all your people watching now, ask yourself this question. How much time do you spend training?
Straight into the camera.
Is it that one?
Straight into the camera.
No ice cream. How much time do you spend every week training your staff? Think about that. Right. Now, I suspect 99% of you have said, not a lot. We do a couple of sessions a year. All right, let me tell you about Harrods. So when I was at Harrods, 6,000 staff during the peak time.
Wow.
Every staff member, 40 minutes training a week.
Wow.
40 minutes training. How do they do that? They did that because on a Wednesday morning, they opened the shop at 9:30. And we had to be in at 8:30. And they did for every single department. If you walk through Harrods at 8:30, this is back in 1985, I think they still do it. Every single person is receiving some training on a product or a service or a skill.
Okay.
And that's how you learn.
All in little groups, effectively.
All in little groups.
Like lots of little groups going on.
So a supplier might come in with a new product, or the head buyer might come and talk about the sales benefits of a certain thing, and so you had instilled in you this discipline about learning. So in a year, 48 weeks, 4 weeks off, 48, 35 hours worth of product training. It's a lot.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And the stuff that you've talked about today, I mean, was that manifesting itself in a retail place like Harrods back in the 80s?
Absolutely right. So in our training, we used to go and mystery shop Scotch House and Harvey Nichols and Selfridges, bring that feedback back to the buyers in Harrods, and then tell them how I think we do it as opposed to their competition. And absolutely, Harrods was customer experience, everything. So a very simple thing, name badge.
Yes.
We know 12% of experience is better if you wear a name badge than if you don't wear a name badge. So if you're
how do you know that?
Because we measure it on our mystery shopping. So on our 250,000 reports we've done, if you take the question, does someone wear a name badge, and you look at the overall service experience, there's a 12% difference between someone wearing it and not wearing it.
And it's not. So let's just analyse that for a moment then, because it's clearly not the wearing of the name badge itself that delivers the better service, but it's the rigour in the business that insists the staff wear name badges that manifests itself in the rigour that delivers better service.
It's a few things. Yeah, no, you're right. So it is about the discipline,
right,
and it's about uniformity. But if you've got your name on you, you're going to be a bit more responsible.
Okay.
It's a bit more responsible. More importantly, if you've got your name on you and the customer knows your name, their perception is this is a more personal experience.
Yes. Okay.
You see, and that's a crucial bit. So in Harrods in 1985, you had to wear your name badge.
Yes.
And if you didn't, you went home and you got it.
Yeah.
And I still have.
Okay.
I know it. And funnily enough, Nigel, a quick story. When I went to Australia, because I moved to Australia, you probably know that, and with my lovely wife, who's Australian, and I walked in, and this is how I set my business up. I walked into a supermarket, my service was poor, and I started mystery shopping it, and that's how the brand across Australia and New Zealand grew. Just like it. Anyway, and I spoke at a supermarket convention, and I started talking about name badges.
You've lived a life.
I know. It wasn't as good as the Carpet Federation. I can tell you about that one. That was absolutely, that was top. Anyway, and I started talking about name badges. There were a couple of thousand people in the room, whatever it was, and they didn't like it at all. And I was going, oh, mate, we don't wear name badges out here, mate. No, we don't do that, mate. You can go back to Pommyland and do that. And so anyway, about a couple of weeks later, I was invited to a shop in a little Aboriginal town called Wongan Hill. And I walked into this supermarket, everyone had name badges on. So I went up to the owners, ironically, Peter and Kathy Smith from Liverpool.
What's the chances?
It's unbelievable. And I said, I've just been speaking at this conference down in Perth, da-di-da-di-da, and you've got name badges on, and they don't do that. He said, oh yeah, we always do that, mate. Name badges, very important. And he says, if people forget their name badge...
Is that his Liverpool accent?
That was his... The thing about Australia is when you've been there for 20 minutes, your voice changes, Nigel. And see, this is a terrible accent to get wrong. Anyway, and he said, yeah, we have 2 spare name badges. So people come into work and they haven't got a name badge, and I've got 2 spare badges. I've got Dick and Fanny. Right. And if a staff member forgets their badge, they've got to wear the Dick badge or a Fanny badge, you see. And he said, it's amazing, they never ever forget their badge. You see? So it works. So it works. And when I left Australia, so for 10 years I grew this brand, and we measured hundreds of supermarkets. Yeah. I think the final measurement was 96.5% of staff in independent supermarkets in Australia were wearing name badges.
Wow.
And a lot of them had 2 spare ones. So it does make, it is about that person. You think about a reception, you go into an office, think about a reception.
Yes.
Well, one of the best signs is direct to first impressions.
Yes.
Is the person sitting behind the desk.
Yes.
Because that's what they're responsible for. They're not responsible just to sit there. They're responsible about getting out and looking at it, making the whole experience good.
Oh, he's going to get
like Mr. Butler.
Ideas above his taste now.
Ice cream.
He's going to want to be a director of first impressions now, aren't you?
I just like being supplier of happiness, Nigel.
Supply. Oh, it's good.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah, that's what it's.
Some of that probably does actually track back to that conference 5 years ago, probably.
Yeah, absolutely right. So you asked me. So that's where I got my.
Okay.
My lovely
now,
passion
at the convention 5 years ago, and there are a handful of people that are watching this today that were at that event, they might remember a little exercise that you did, and I think we should do it again today.
Okay.
So Matt the butler is here, our supplier of happiness.
Hello.
Director. Oh, I say. So would you like to go and hand out those little post-it notes, Matt, to everybody in the audience, please?
Yes.
I think there should be a post-it note for everybody in the audience. And if when Matt gives you your post-it note, if you just like to place the post-it note slap bang in the middle of your forehead, with it only sticks one way. It won't leave a mark. It'll be okay. Yeah. And if you just slap it on your head there.
Take your makeup off.
And they all say the same thing on them. And actually, Claire's wearing us very well. Looks like she's going to a Red Indian party. But you're looking the Hiawatha of EC. Now we can we see those on the? You can see this. So the whole audience now, Jonathan, are now wearing their post-it notes. Okay, so I'll let you take up the. Take it from here.
I might just let them sit there for a few minutes and look even more stupid than they currently do. Yeah. Right, so basically, does anyone know PMMFS? Any idea what it stands for?
Matt the butler.
Matt the butler.
It stands for Please Make Me Feel Special.
Yeah, that is amazing. That is the first person in how many ever years actually got it first time. So well done, Matt the butler.
Okay.
And basically what this is about is visualising the fact that every single customer we have, so it could be a browser or someone that rings up or someone that's buying something, that's their need. Their need is to be made to feel just slightly special. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. So one way is a very tangible way. So I can say to you, that's a great shirt, Nigel, a lovely shirt. And you'll probably say something to me, oh, my wife bought that for me, but I've made an emotional connection with you because we're talking about something that means something to you.
And I am very shallow.
I didn't comment on that. Or it could be in a team environment, it could be more around, today you might work with someone who really went above and beyond and saying to them, what you did for me today made me feel fantastic and I really appreciate it. You made me feel like, extremely special, whatever words you want to use. And what that does, again, it makes them feel fantastic. So every customer, it doesn't matter what it is or who it is, have it on your head. And I walk my son to his bus every morning, right? And we pass people, okay? And him and I will try and
think he looks really weird.
They now wear it as well. It's unbelievable. The dogs all have it on in battle where we live. They've all got this little post-it note on their head. And we actually go past people and we go, how are we going to make them feel special this morning? And we always say, lovely day, good morning, lovely dog, got some nice coat. And they react with, guess what they react with? Smile. If you smile, everything gets going in your body, you feel a bit heightened, you feel good, you've had your impact. And that is what it's about. It's not hard, this stuff. It's doing it consistently well. And a problem with a lot of businesses, they're great 1 minute and they're really poor the next.
Yeah.
You're only as good as your weakest link. What you've got to do is be consistently very good all the time. And the brands that do it consistently well are the ones that are winning.
And where do you think making your audience sit with a post-it on their head fits in terms of making them feel special?
No one's told you. Anyone's take them off
now, guys. You can take them off now.
When I first did that activity, we actually wrote it on people's heads. Ooh. And that was interesting.
Yeah, okay.
Especially when you forgot that you'd had it written on your head.
So the point of that, just to be really, really clear, is that when people are coming into your business, whether they're on the telephone or whether they're coming in face to face, or even when they're branding, think of them effectively with that on their head, because what they're looking for, because we all are as human beings, we're looking, make me feel special in some way. And sometimes it doesn't take a lot, does it?
No.
Because actually, in a lot of sectors, expectations are really quite low, aren't they? You don't have to be super duper world class to actually steal a march and get ahead.
I couldn't agree more. And it is about just saying the little things that have a big difference.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. So if it's commenting on the lovely coat they got on or the glasses they're wearing or just something personal, makes people think, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Very nice. So nice little technique that. And great one for your staff meetings to come with the post-it notes.
Yeah.
They're not watching the...
And of course, as a leader of a business, you need to be doing that to your team every day.
Yeah.
So in the morning, when you do your little walk
how
around,
can you make your team feel?
how do you make your team? Because if they feel special, they'll then do it to their clients.
I'm going to have to watch this episode back, which I never do, so I can make notes, because there's several things that you've said today that have resonated with me. Final thing before we go.
Yes.
Qantas.
Yes.
You had some experiences with Qantas.
Yes, I did. Gosh, you're taking me back. I nearly had black hair then. So
were you in a broom cupboard?
Right, very quick story. When I was in Australia, we were doing loads of work in Australia. I got invited to New Zealand to present to the board of the biggest supermarket group in New Zealand, and I was about 27 years old, and it was quite a nerve-wracking experience, especially as I hated flying. So that was, something else. Anyway, I had to choose between Virgin Blue or Qantas, who I was going to go with. Okay. I had my presentation on my laptop in my bag that went under the aeroplane. Okay. The flight was all right, the experience was all right. I got to Auckland Airport, which has a mission statement of to be the friendliest airport in the world. That's their mission statement. And I got to the conveyor belt, waiting for my bag, and my bag didn't come out. So at this point, I was never, ever, ever going to fly Qantas, because in my bag was the presentation that will either make me or break me, because it was a big piece of work.
Oh, goodness.
And I was petrified. This is about midnight. And in the corner was a little hut, and in the hut was a guy in like a New Zealand type red outfit. And as I walked over to him, he said, "You look a bit worried, sir." He said, "I said, I am a bit." He said, "Have you got your boarding pass?" He took my boarding pass. I said, "Oh, Mr. Winchester, welcome to Auckland." And I said, "Well, I wish you could be on happier circumstances, because I have this presentation tomorrow, and in my bag is my presentation, and sadly, my bag isn't here, and my presentation is at midday tomorrow." So he said, "Well, let me see what I can do." And he tapped away. He said, "Right, Mr. Winchester, your bag is in Brisbane." Now, for those of you who don't know, Brisbane is in Australia, Auckland is in New Zealand, and my brain was going, I'm not going to have my laptop by tomorrow. Anyway, he said, "But fear not." He said, "Tell me where you're staying." I said, "Well, I'm staying in the Ridges Hotel in Auckland." He said, "Right, we will get your bag to you, I promise, by 10 o'clock in the morning." So if you think about my customer satisfaction, you think about a graph, right? So it was down here. I was never, ever going to fly Qantas once I knew my bag. Suddenly it started, that gives me a bit of confidence. He goes, "Before you leave, as it's midnight, I've got a parcel for you. Take that, open it up in your hotel room." So I got a taxi to the Ridges Hotel. I went into my room, opened up this parcel, and in there was everything I needed for the night, because everything I needed for the night was lost. It had about 30 items, including Qantas pyjamas, that I still wear. My wife says, "You're not wearing them again." I say, "Well, I'm afraid I am." Anyway.
Price yourself, Sheila.
How do you know her name? That's very good, Nigel. You must have met her. So I'm thinking, okay, they're giving me some certainty here. 10 o'clock in the morning, knock on my door, Qantas.
Really?
"Here's my bag." He said, "I believe you've got an important presentation today." Oh, okay. Make me feel special.
Yeah.
Let me check you got everything. Checked I got everything. Came back to the hotel later. Phone call, Qantas. "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, it is." I went back to the airport. I joined the Qantas club, and I worked it out once. It's about £180,000 on flights, because we got the contract. I flew 45 times. All because they lost my bag.
Although, and the guy handled it
brilliantly.
That's the key, I guess, isn't it? Because that was the moment of truth, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
The guy in that hut at midnight.
Yep. So for businesses, it's about saying, what do we do wrong that we can't? I mean, Qantas, they're going to lose bags. It's a human process. You can't do a lot about it. Yeah. So what can we do to make it a really memorable experience by losing someone's bag? And it's the same in everybody's business. What are the common things that go wrong that we probably haven't got a lot of control on? And then what can we do to make sure that when it goes wrong, we are fantastically brilliant at putting it right? So people like me, I have probably told 100,000 people that story, including the thousands of people at your conference.
And the 17 watching today.
And the 17 watching today. And it does make a massive... It is a great story, because that is exactly how it
wraps up. And I think that's been really... Has that been worthwhile bringing him on to Business Growth Central? Yeah. Shall we have a Jonathan Winchester?
Thank you.